It's taken us about 13 years to finally get to see this movie. James Cameron is probably one of the few filmmakers who, I mean, amazingly can say he has 3 films that have each reached a box office of $1.5 billion and still going. So I just want to be honest, when the first movie of this franchise came out, I wasn't so hyped about it. I was kind of a Debbie Downer. I was kind of negative about it. Not that it was a bad movie, but just I feel like people thought I didn't like it. I didn't like it because I didn't get as amped about it as everyone else did. So with that, I think y'all can tell today we're going to be talking about Avatar 2, Way of Water. Let's talk for a minute. For today's episode, it's a little different. I'm actually really happy that I have a friend of mine joining today, Jonathan Olivo, who we have been going back and forth talking about Avatar 2, about being excited for it. This is a film that's been long in the making. Jonathan, how long ago did you see the movie?
I saw this sequel around 2 weeks ago, so it's still very fresh.
Let's just dive right into it. What's your rating out of 10 for the whole thing? What would you say?
I would say a 8. I would say an 8. What about you?
Mine was 8 out of 10 as well. 8 out of 10 for sure. 8 out of 10. It just, it's one of those things where I heard the critiques of the film later. I'm like, okay, yeah, whatever. I was just so into this movie the whole time. I was initially worried, I even made a joke about it being a 3-hour plus movie, but I was hooked. I loved all right, so right now we're just jumping into the pros. I loved the action. I loved the beauty of it. I loved the visuals of it. I mean, it's been 13 years now. The original composer was James Horner from 2009. He died in a plane crash, so Simon Frangen took over as composer. Amazing soundtrack, and he had worked under James Horner, so I think he got the feel, of what his style would be. In fact, little side note on that, when that plane crash happened and Horner died, they were in the middle of still making The Magnificent Seven, the remake with Denzel Washington, Chris Pratt, and Frangen took over, and that was the first time of kind of seeing, can he get the feel of, his mentor, the original composer, James Horner. Again, for this movie, Avatar, Way of Water, the score worked. I can keep going. You tell me, what were some of the, positives or all the positives, please?
No, definitely. I definitely agree with the score. The score definitely stood out. And I didn't know James Horner passed away in a plane crash. I knew he passed away. That's horrible. I didn't know he passed away. I love his Children of Men score.
Oh, yeah. By the way, that's a movie that we need to do an episode just on that one itself, because that is a one-of-a-kind film that it shook me and never going to forget it. For this one, though, it was interesting being kind of shown a new world. Going into this movie, I knew that there was going to be that whole water being more of a focus, that setting, the community. And I was thinking, okay, I'm going to roll my eyes. This is going to be cheesy, whatever. No, I just think it's that attention to detail that this guy Cameron has. I was there for all of it. Heads up, by the way, this is going to be a spoiler review episode because we're talking about everything. It's just the fact that the whole theme of family, the introduction of I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, Tolkien, the whale-like creatures that were in it. The only part that felt a little all right, guys, you're really reaching here. How they brought back some of the cast members from the first.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I did miss the first 5 minutes of this movie. I just came late. So I assumed that I wasn't missing a lot, but I did enjoy seeing Sigourney Weaver again and I forgot the villain's name, but seeing him back, I thought he looked really cool. If there was a hot toy collectible of him with his sunglasses on as a Navi, that's something I'd like to collect. Aesthetically, all the villains I think looked really cool. Seeing, just to go back to what you're mentioning, seeing how James Cameron decided to bring back old characters that have died, I think worked out pretty well. And I think this movie made me remember how important the concept of Avatar was in the first. When I think back of the first one, I really forget the whole concept of Sam Worthington's character being a human going into a Navi. I completely forget about that. I just go, oh yeah, it's a movie about. I saw it, 5 times when it came out, but I just remember. Okay, I remember the world, Pandora. It's awesome. They fight, cool. But I totally forgot that that's the whole plot of the first movie. So when he started this one with having the bad guy have his consciousness re-uploaded into Navi, I thought, okay, what else are you gonna do? Because I think that's what James Cameron shines at, is making sequels where Aliens, Terminator 2. He knows how to do a good sequel where you're moving the story forward, and it's not just a movie sequel sidequel that exists nowadays, kind of like the MCU. The MCU does it really well, but I think I'm just so accustomed to that format that I forget that a sequel can be formatted really well. The momentum is moving forward.
No, I totally hear you. And because it was after I, finished the movie, I came out of it, I was thinking, all right, I remember with the first one, again, I wasn't super excited, but I realized with this one, I wouldn't have enjoyed it as much had I not seen the first one. You know what I mean? Like if all that, you need that information, that kind of set up all of that, from the first one. Yeah, and plus, look, even if there is a part of me being like, oh my gosh, we're bringing back, the same people and everything, how can you complain with that cast? Sigourney Weaver, which by the way, playing, she was supposed to be 14 years old or something like that, 15. Like she did an incredible job. And then also Stephen Lang back as that villain character is just, he's always great in everything. For the positives, this movie had a lot of really good balance too. I like the fact that they didn't try to make it all action, like that there were beats. Okay, so there's the dramatic stuff, then the intense action, then some more dramatic stuff. It just, with each of those peaks and valleys, you enjoy when it gets to the action part. I mean, that third act of the movie, it blew me away. Like I really hope for these companies out there that are currently or maybe in the future involved with virtual reality, augmented reality. I hope Cameron's talking to them, because how is this guy not already deeply involved with gaming? After seeing the visuals from this movie, do you know, did they make an Avatar game after the first movie?
Okay, so when the first one came out, I was in ninth grade, and I have distinct memories of playing a mobile Avatar on my phone. That's all that I remember, but I do know that there is a new Avatar game coming out next year, maybe this year. Yeah, it's like a big deal, but that's all that I know about the games. Yeah, whatever they have planned, I mean, Avatar gaming, VR, it all goes together so well. Not to change subjects so quickly, but the CGI on this, I wanted to just mention is,
oh yeah,
it's the first. I was telling my family this. I was telling them it's the first movie I've seen where I really don't know, and I'm just a normal person who watches a lot of movies just like everyone else. I can't tell what's CGI and what's real, what's practical, what's not. Are they doing close-ups for hands and stuff? I don't know. Practical close-ups. I mean, yeah.
Couldn't tell at all, like myself for sure. And when, they would show some of the behind the scenes videos, I think some of the stuff that had to be practical was like water tanks every now and then. But the rest was just, they show all of those videos of the gear, the suits they'd wear, the helmets with the camera, like right in front of their face. That whole thing where I'm sure we've seen so many times now, Kate Winslet talking about her breaking the record of like Tom Cruise and, 7 minutes plus holding her breath underwater. That's incredible, especially again for that third act. I see where that fits. By the way, I just want to throw in something for a second. You mentioned you remember playing a game on your mobile phone, and back then you were in ninth grade. Listener, he just made me feel really, really old right now, but that's okay. I'm going to let that go.
Did not mean to.
And just, the pros, like, we're kind of ignoring the lead cast. I mean, Sam Worthington, Zoe Saldana. I just want to say, if there was any actor's career that I think all actors would want right now, it's got to be Zoe Saldana's. I mean, she has been able to earn her way into all these amazing franchises. Star Trek, she's been into Marvel stuff. Was it Guardians of the Galaxy? We have the third one coming out soon. Avatar, that's an incredible career to have these amazing films that she's been a part of. And then Sam Worthington too. I mean, like the two of them are going to get to, if the rumors and stuff are correct, if there's only 5 that are going to be made, and now the next 3 are going to take each 2 years to make.
Only 5, yeah.
Yeah, only 5, right? Until 2028, they're going to be making these movies. That is amazing. Something, I don't think there's any risk of people being bored. I'm going to switch to the cons for a second, but like it's funny, even though these are cons, I kind of have to fight each of them. One of the complaints is that this is not an original story. A not very nice way of putting it is, oh, this is the Pocahontas story in space with the first movie. And then with this second one, they have pretty much repeated beat for beat stuff from the first film, just in a new setting with some different characters, but still same plot points. Like by the time you get to that second, third act, something really terrible happens and it's just so emotional and sad. And then, you have to fight back. And actually, what I'm going to do right here is I went and saw this movie with a friend of mine named Cody. He described the beat for beat part of this perfectly. I'm going to insert the audio right here.
Avatar 2's plot is the exact same as Avatar 1 in the sense that the main character is plunged into a different culture and isn't immediately accepted, and they're fighting a bad guy from outer space, which is there to just farm a mineral that's worth millions and billions of dollars, except this time it's whales. And Jake's not immediately accepted and then has to fight and earn his way to acceptance. The only difference is this time that he has a family and he's an alien.
And that was him just saying exactly how ridiculous this movie is in the sense that it is almost the same movie as the first one. But Jonathan and listeners, I don't care. It was entertaining. It just grabbed me the entire way through. I think it's kind of like what you were saying. The visual part really commands a lot out of you from this movie. I was too stunned to care about a lot of things I'd normally care about and whine about.
Well, I absolutely agree. I mean, I think I went into this Avatar movie with, to be honest, very little expectations. I really liked the first one, not enough to ever buy it in 4K or anything, but if it was on TV, I'd watch it. I'd sometimes watch clips on YouTube of it, but I wasn't a huge fan of it. When I saw this one, I only saw the first teaser trailer on purpose, and I went in pretty blind. I really enjoyed it. I think the CGI is so breathtaking that it almost concerns me of, am I ever going to sit home and watch this even if I own a big TV? And I would say yes, but the movie theater experience, this is designed for a movie theater. I mean, to go watch it in IMAX, go watch it in the biggest one you can get. And I'm going to go see it this weekend again. I don't know if you've ever seen a movie at Screen X, but Screen X is what some Cinemark theaters have. And basically, you have your movie playing in the front of you, and it stretches onto 2 additional screens to your left and right where the walls are. I've never done that before. Yeah, I'm going to go see it there. But just to go off what you were saying about the CGI is mind-blowing. And I feel like I enjoy the movie enough to call it an 8 out of 10. But I'm a little concerned that as time goes on, it might get slightly lowered. But you know what? I don't care. Right now, I'm enjoying it. And the only reason why I say it might lower in my book is because I think I look at his movies like theme park rides, and if there's a story, these Avatar movies. Yes. And if there's a story that's compelling, that's a cherry on top. If there's not, then I'm not going to enjoy it. This had a pretty good story. I cared about all of the characters. I wasn't confused. And Saurabh, I want to talk to you about this. The big thing that I really enjoyed about this in terms of action, it was choreographed incredibly well, and I knew where everybody was. And that sounds like such a simple thing to enjoy, but nowadays in so many action movies, the art of cinematography and camera operation, I guess, or where even to place the camera in film, in specifically fight scenes, is kind of going away. It's kind of like, let's just film it. Okay, you see, it doesn't really matter if you get the best angle of where people punch each other or where explosions happen. Just capture it and move on. And this movie, I can get a pencil right now and write out exactly where everybody was at the end of that fight. And it's beautiful.
I mean, to that end, I can think of 2 types of or 2 particular movies with like action, which is getting a little messy now. First one would be if you take any of the Avenger movies now, it's getting a little too cluttered, and again, like with Avatar, the camera, you can digitally put it wherever you want. You know what I mean? Like you can put it in a virtual environment so that you have a lot of choices. So that's I don't understand why we're still having that problem. But then the other one, which I was surprised also they had this kind of a problem. I watched John Wick 2 again. And there's that fight scene where he goes to the cab station, and I'm just like, this is really messy, like, and again, it's him, maybe 3 or 4 other guys, fighting. But it'd be like, okay, the master shot, the like close up, whatever. And it, but you know what? Even there, I don't care because those are fun movies. If you can make your movie fun, you can start to like I start to care less about that. I tell you what, though, on the scale of fun, still this Avatar 2 was way better than those last 2 I just mentioned. That last scene, the last act, the third act, when Zoe Saldana, for example, is like fighting, and Anne Worthington, and it was just out of this world amazing. With, to your point, like how the camera was moving and everything too. And like now for this, this is for the next one, supposedly the third Avatar movie. They're going to be introducing like fire people. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like I'm already excited. I don't even know what the hell they're going to do for that, but like, just with everything we've seen so far, the forest, the sea, now you're going to throw in fire? I mean, okay, just take my money. Yeah.
No, I absolutely agree.
I was just going to say also that for a con, I really thought the runtime was going to be something that would really bother me, because when I have seen movies that go that long, Malcolm X, Return of the King,
Batman.
Yes, it was. I felt like 30 minutes, maybe a little too long, or 20, 30 minutes too long, but I still liked it. Like I know people call that emo Batman, but I still really liked it. For this one being 3 hours, I didn't really feel it, because I was just like, every part of it I was interested in. I remember both with Return of the King and with Spielberg's artificial intelligence movie, there were 3 times in both of those movies where I'm like, oh, the ending is here. Oh, no. Okay, it's still cold. Cool. Okay. Oh, no. Okay, the second part, this is the ending here. Oh, wait, what? It took 3 times for the movie to finally end. And I'm just like, all right, we can leave now. And you can imagine, like, that hurt the score for me badly.
Interesting. Well, I agree. I agree with bad 3-hour movies. Yes, it's hard for me to enjoy them. Return of the King, I always make an exception, because I remember watching that in theaters as a kid and just being like, oh, I don't want this to end. But that's the magic of movies to a young child. If I was an adult, I'm sure I would, or if I was, I drank a big soda, I'd be like, okay, I need to get out of here.
I think also one maybe bias or whatever I had with Return of the King was I never read the Tolkien books. I didn't know much about it, and so it wasn't something that I was, again, super excited to begin with. I did like, the Return of the King, was great. The ending kind of tested me a bit. The only other con, 13 years. 13 years, like, I really hope when Cameron says it will not take another, like, that much time for these next installments, he was saying, oh, okay, but this was to get things where they needed to be, and now we've actually filmed a little bit already of installment 3, installment 4, and installment 5. He was saying that for that spider character, the human kid, there's a human kid character in the movie named Spider, and there's no motion capture, it's just the actor himself being recorded. He said, James Cameron said, we need to film all his stuff now, because he's going to age out. I thought it was actually kind of, he didn't hold back. He's like, have you all seen Stranger Things? And like, with each season that passes, these kids look like they've aged, 4 or 5 years. I really hope that for episode 3, that he says we're going to get it in 2024. Is it correct that I think Cameron said it's been shot, all the sound, everything's ready. It's just the effects and rendering and all that takes the longest time, I think, right? Or
from what I heard, yeah, the third one, according to him, that it's done in terms of actually shooting it. Yeah. So I hold him to it. I think we'll get a third one next year, which isn't that far away from now at all. So yeah, I'm excited. If this goes all according to plan, we'll get a trailer for the third one maybe this December or next January.
And then he was saying that he has ideas for a possible episode 6 and 7. At that point, I'm sure he has to be creating some video diaries or something, or some video training, or training some new director, because he will not be able to live that long to make all of these at the way it's going. I mean, how old is the guy already? Hold on, let me just do a little.
I think he's 103.
Let's see, James Cameron. Okay, so 1954, doing some, what's that math right now?
68.
So he's okay. I'm sure maybe he has someone in mind. I mean, he did work with, Robert Rodriguez hired him to do Alita. If you could have Cameron make a film another film. It could be either of one of his existing properties or something brand new, but it has to be live action. What would you want that movie to be?
This is going to sound absurd to people listening, but I want him to just take his Spider-Man script from 1990, whatever, and make that movie. And originally he wanted Leonardo DiCaprio right before Titanic. And you know what? I say bring on Leonardo DiCaprio now at whatever age he is, and we'll have a 40-year-old Spider-Man. I don't know. I mean, that's a project that he always shelved, and I didn't hear the best things about, but I've seen concept art of it, and it always looked really interesting to me. So there's that, and I would probably, this is also going to sound not that great, but I would mind having him just do one Terminator movie that he's fully directing and in charge of.
Okay. I'm going to come back to that Terminator thing in a moment because I have something very specific I want to address with that. But for me, the one that I would really want him to do another one of, live action, True Lies. Terminator 2 and True Lies, they're tied for like my favorite. Look, I love Titanic and The Abyss and all the other ones, Aliens, of course, but those two. And I think just slightly more True Lies I like more than Terminator 2. Not saying that Terminator 2 is bad for a second, but there's just something about the absurdity in a funny and yet good action way that I love about True Lies. And the cheesiness too, and it being over the top. And they had Charlton Heston a cameo in it. You had Jamie Lee Curtis. First of all, Jamie Lee Curtis, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Tom Arnold. That grouping together of actors is brilliant. And the only thing that would make me sad if they were to do a new one is there'd be one actor missing, which unfortunately he can't be a part of it. Who am I talking about?
Hold on. You know what, Sarab? This is gonna be a huge reveal right now. Reveal live on the podcast. Okay. I've never seen all of True Lies. I've seen chunks of it.
Have you seen those parts of it where, first of all, man, watch that movie. Like that, please watch that movie. It's really good. Did you ever see the parts of the movie that had Jamie Lee Curtis and she's hanging out with this guy who is a car salesman, but he pretends he's an agent? It's played by Bill Paxton.
Oh.
And he is beyond brilliant in that movie with, again, there's scenes with him and Tom Arnold and Schwarzenegger. It's just so funny. I mean, really, 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 really funny. Please do see that. Coming back to Terminator 1 and 2, because it's those two movies and they're very closely connected, the usage of time travel as a plot device, it works, and it works well. But then when you had Terminator 3, 4, 5, and then 6, using the reset button with time travel, I'm like, then the stakes don't matter. For the first two, it's okay, because we're playing around with this. It's brand new, and the effects were new, and everything. Schwarzenegger himself was pretty new, But if you keep doing it, who cares? You can open with like a new Terminator comes in or whatever, but then I want that time machine broken. I want it gone, and I want it to be like whatever happens is absolute. Then we actually feel some goddamn stakes. Otherwise, why do I care? Look, even if it's an action movie, and I know that some people say, oh, I shouldn't take it so seriously. I'm not, but it's just a reset to get, I don't know. I just feel like, okay, it's an excuse for a money grab.
It definitely is. And I feel, what's interesting is that the fourth one, Salvation with Christian Bale, that's not my favorite Terminator movie at all, but that's the only one that had no time travel and that was actually trying to say, okay, let's try something new. Let's not keep having the same ABC plot of Terminator from the past. Terminator from the future comes to the past, hunts him down. It's a chase. The fourth one did try to do something new. And again, that's not my favorite Terminator, but yeah, I would definitely enjoy another one. And now this isn't even about James Cameron. If anybody wants to just reboot the thing, I'm down. I really didn't like the last one with Linda Carter. Not Linda Carter. Yeah. Jesus. Is that her name?
Hamilton. Linda Hamilton.
Linda Carter from Wonder Woman. Linda Hamilton. Yeah, I really didn't like that one. I really wanted to. So Terminator and Spider-Man is what I would want James Cameron to return to.
One thing I want to return to with Avatar 2 is, I'm trying to think, why am I sticking with an 8? I would just say like a 7 is like a film that has like some entertaining scenes, but it's not enough to like want to stay on if it was on TV or something. 7.5 definitely is that. Like, okay, I might stay for a few minutes. 8, I'm watching the whole thing. I will watch the whole thing. It has some memorable stuff in it, and then beyond that, like if then we're getting into territories of being like, I need to buy a copy of it. I need to see re-releases of it, all of that. I want to see if they do, if they release behind the scenes stuff. I want to watch more of that. Yeah, 8 out of 10 is because it was thoroughly entertaining. It is a simple story at its core. There is that too. The 8 rating is kind of like what you said, pretty much ever since True Lies or even Terminator, Cameron's movies are a roller coaster ride. And I think if you are really expecting more, you're just not having fun, yeah, you're going to set yourself up for disappointment. I think actually that's probably, I would go back and tell the old me in 2009, like, loosen up. I probably would have enjoyed the first one more if I had that mindset going into it. I don't know why I wasn't thinking that way when I saw it. Just to recap on those scores, Avatar 2 for me is definitely an 8 out of 10. Jonathan, you're sticking with yours?
Still an 8 out of 10. And my question to you, Sarab, is what movies this year in 2022 also did you give an 8 or above to?
An 8 or
do you remember?
Above?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Top Gun Maverick, Everything Everywhere All at Once, and Glass Onion. Prey, the Predator movie, was pretty phenomenal, I thought. What about you? Like, what were some that were 8 out of 10 or higher from last year?
I definitely have to watch Prey. I never watched that, and it just came out at a time when I was really busy. And I tried to watch it on an airplane, and it just wasn't happening. Dude, I'm part of the Cinemark members thing, and they give you an email that says, "Oh, you watched this many movies this year. These are the movies that you've watched." And I saw 15 movies, I think, so not a lot. But
Okay.
I really enjoyed Nope. I would probably give that also an 8 out of 10. I really liked Batman. That's probably a 10 out of 10 for me, but I'm biased because I just love Batman, and I love Robert Pattinson and Matt Reeves.
Matt Reeves. Definitely Matt Reeves.
Yeah. I don't even know what else came out that I saw, which is crazy because I think this year was just kind of like a quiet year for movies. Okay, I saw The Menu recently. Did you see The Menu?
I did.
I would say like that's like a good 7.
The ending on that one, I don't know. I got hyped for it for a few reasons, and these reasons actually, I felt like the expectations were met. Anna Taylor-Joy, Ralph Fiennes, Nicholas Hoult, amazing job in this movie, and weird as hell in the movie. And then Mark, I don't know if it's Milo, the director. The main reason why I wanted to see this was Mark Milo is a producer and a director of many episodes of Succession. And that is also an equally twisted show. And when you're finished with Succession, or I should say, and The Menu, you are left equally as uncomfortable. It is very unsettling to watch both of those. I still do like Succession a little bit more just because the stories it was a bit more solid. Did you see Everything Everywhere All at Once?
Yes. Okay, that's another one. Yeah, I would say that's I really enjoyed that a lot. I mean, it's so good and it's so well made. Some of the humor didn't hit for me all the time, but that doesn't take away how well that movie is made, period, how well it's acted by everybody in that movie. I would say that's like a 7.5 out of 10, but I'd have to watch it again. Did you enjoy that movie?
I really did. That one to me was like a 9 or 9.5. I just thought, first of all, what they could do on the budget they had. I thought I really liked the story. I thought the cast did a really great job, from Michelle Yeoh to Ki Hu Kwan, I think is the guy from Indiana Jones. I hope I pronounced that correctly. I apologize if I didn't. Just the fact that it's something original, has a great cast. It's very well directed. The visual effects, like we're talking about Avatar. Let's talk about budgets for a second, okay? Avatar, yeah. The range of budgets I've heard is like, okay, 60 million or something, or up to, or no, the range they're saying was 350 to 460, million. When I hear that, I'm just going to assume the high end of that, so if it's 460, making it the most expensive movie ever made, which I believe, they had to make 1.4 billion just to break even and start being profitable, which they've done, which is great. Then when there are movies like Everything Everywhere All at Once, I'm just going to type that one in real quick. What they did on a $14.3 million budget, and they have a box office return of 103 million. Like it's incredible. Like that, I think should give a lot of hope to up and coming, filmmakers. They had their original film before that, Swiss Army Man. I'd never seen it, but I've been told that's also incredible too.
Well,
Yeah.
that's why I feel bad giving it a 7.5, because I mean, if you're a filmmaker, that movie really should inspire you. I mean, it's so well directed, it's so well edited, it's a very original. It has such a huge heart. But I think, I guess the reason why I don't give it an 8 is because I just didn't find every joke funny. But I'm gonna watch it again because I really enjoyed the movie. Yeah, I'm gonna definitely check
Well,
that out again.
just to recap on our scores, 8 out of 10 for me. Jonathan, 8 out of 10 for you.
8 out of 10.
And then, as we were talking about, listeners, where to see it, you need to see it in the theater. And these are the conditions that I would recommend as the minimum for what to do. If you can find a theater that has Atmos sound, and then 3D. This is, by the way, one of those times, probably one of the only times, I'm going to say, yes, do the 3D. Because we remember back in 2009 that 3D only took off after the first Avatar. And it was really, I mean, Jonathan, do you remember this? Like, then a lot of movies afterwards were...
Clash of the Titans, Final Destination, everything, 3D.
So, and it was annoying because some of them, yes, were needlessly made in 3D, but then some of them also were up converted.
80% of them, I think, were post converted, and yeah, they look terrible. I mean, every movie from like 2010 to like 2015 was in 3D, which is insane to think about. Everything but dramas and comedies. Every film from the Resident Evil series to any of those Clash of the Titan movies to Percy Jackson to anything that had CGI on it. It was marketed as you can see it in 3D. And just to go off what you were saying, I know 3D kind of left a bad taste in our mouth from those years, but if you can tolerate 3D and want to enjoy it, I do recommend watching it for Avatar.
This is one of those movies where the environment, the immersiveness of it. I'm thinking of John Landau, who is the producer of this film. This guy I know would be screaming at all of us, being like, "You need to see this in the best possible environment possible with everything that we've done for this movie." And listeners, I'm telling you, he's right. Don't do yourself a disservice. And actually, I got to make a confession. The first time, I've seen it once, I didn't see it in 3D. So,
Wow.
by the way, you know what? I still enjoyed it. I still loved it. It was an amazing, I'm very grateful for that first, experience. Do I think I'm going to probably see it one or two more times at least in 3D? Definitely. So,
I was going to say, to go off of that, I'd say if you can tolerate 3D, because I have a lot of friends who just don't watch movies in 3D, period. It's not something that they enjoy. So, Rob, you're a good advocate of this movie. Even if you go see it in 2D, it still holds up. We gave it the same score, whether you see it in 2D or 3D.
It's one of those movies that afterwards, I just needed some time with it. Like, it was, it's a ride. I just think, like, the way you were saying that earlier, like, the Cameron's movies are a ride. I think even if he wasn't making Avatar films now, he's making some other stuff. This is just the way he does things now. And gotta love him for it. And when you watch him in interviews or on the radio and podcasts, whatever, when you hear that outsized ego, he has earned it. The guy is talented. The guy is really, really talented, and he knows how to tell. Well, I was about to say tell a story. How he shows a story is really something. Telling a story, that's still a work in progress, but that's okay. With that, I just want to say, please, listeners, go see it in the theater. It will be on Disney Plus eventually, I'm sure, but don't wait for that. With that, Jonathan, I do want to thank you for joining us today on the episode. Again, this is my good friend, Jonathan Olivo. And Jonathan, I hope you will be joining us for more episodes. We can talk about more films. I want to talk about some classic films as well. When I say classic, just earlier films. And special topics. Like, for special topics, that includes, when we have the Super Bowl, we're going to see like what trailers are previewing for the summer. Even sooner than that, January 24th, we have the Oscar nominees. So let's see what's going on, with all that stuff. I mean, there's all sorts of crazy stuff. Plus, I have a feeling this year we're going to see more big entertainment companies acquiring other companies. We're going to see more of that. I'm very sure of it.
So, Rob, thank you for having me here, my friend. It was great talking to you about Avatar, about movies. please have me on as much as you'd like. I'm always down to talk to you about classic movies or movies that came out a decade ago or 30 years ago or whatever. This was awesome, dude. Speaking about what you just mentioned about other companies buying other companies, it's terrifying when that happens, isn't it? In a fun way. Like whenever you see like Disney buying Marvel or whatever, it kind of scares you. But anyway, I do anticipate that happening as well, definitely in the next 5 years or less. So I'm sure we'll have a lot to talk about.
For sure. And I appreciate that with some of these things, I do kind of like push, my guests, when we're talking about things like, but it's never personal. I love that. And I can see that you don't take it personally. And I appreciate that actually you sometimes challenge me on stuff too. So we're going to stay at that. And I appreciate it, man. Listeners, again, this was for Avatar 2. I hope you check it out and I hope you enjoy it. Thank you for listening.